What leapt out from this for you?
Well, I don't know about you, John, in your many years of distinguished journalism. I've not seen anything like this in my life. As far as the royal family is concerned, I felt this last set were much more personal than the original ones. The accusations in the first three were much more generalized. They weren't focusing on people, but this one has become much more personal.
Mm.
I found a couple of things very strange in it, I have to say. The shouting that Harry was so upset about with his brother. Um, I have a brother. We used to shout at each other all the time. I think it's people do that in families and things.
Yes.
Harry was in the army. If he wasn't shouted at in basic training, then the sergeant majors aren't as fierce as they used to be. I find it a little cringingly Californian, to be perfectly honest with you.
Cringingly California. What about some of the raw emotion here, though, Nick? When you hear Harry blaming the press for Meghan's miscarriage, it is about as emotionally charged as it could be.
It's tr As I said, it's not only personal, but you're quite right. It is emotionally charged. Although I notice in the transcript of that particular episode that he has blamed the male and he's pulled back afterwards and said, "Well, we can't say it was definitely the male, but that's the accusation he's making." But there's lots of accusations about all sorts of institutions like the press, the monarchy, the Commonwealth. Um, no one's replying to these because, as we know, the palace has taken a decision not to respond to it. I'm finding it. This second lot was a bit like a soap opera where we've moved on to the Christmas special in many ways. I think
Yeah.
that was the difference between this last three and the three before.
How does the palace restore anything like stability after this?
I don't think the palace can do any more than just stand back from it. Nothing has been. Is it one thing interests me, John? I don't know about you, sort of listening to it. There's been no specific accusations against specific individuals. We've heard a lot about this underlying tone of what was said to be racism within the palace. No one's actually been named for that. It's all very general. Has been attacking the institution in which he was brought up. And I think that institution has decided that the best thing to do is to say nothing at all. And I don't know about you, I'm detecting that there's a big split now at the moment. There are the real Sussex fans, most of whom seem to be on the other side of the pond, who, whatever happens, they will be sort of Harry and Meghan until they die. Here in Britain, I think the reaction is a bit more nuanced. There's significant proportions that I have seen looking at social media and the press and things that actually couldn't care less one way or the other.
Yes.
And there is a smaller proportion who find these attacks on the monarchy, who aren't answering back, rather distasteful. And
Mm.
I think reaction to this is going to depend so much on one's own personal view of whether they believe what's being said from California or they don't. Have you ever seen anything like this, John, in your career?
No, I've not. I mean, this is an institution which exists as part of its very identity to keep shouting matches in Sandringham or point scoring or recrimination behind closed doors. And now, in the age of Netflix and streaming, multimedia, all of the rest of it, all of those new media have shown, and they've been I don't know, harnessed to what we're seeing now, which is unique. It's a new time, a new age. Everything is
It's
not
very
what we've
American, isn't
understood.
it?
It's American, but this is I think these cultural phenomena they span the world now. Nick Serple, good to talk to you, and thank you for coming on. I want to welcome now Victoria Arbiter to give us another perspective from America. Victoria is the CNN royal correspondent speaking from New York. Hi, Victoria.
Hello, John. Thank you for having me.
Always good to have you, Victoria. What's stuck in your mind?
I have to say, I agree with a lot of what Nick just said there. This three certainly did feel incredibly personal, but I think as well it was designed very much to appeal to this younger generation that lives life through Instagram. There were so many Instagrammable moments, these amazingly deeply personal photographs that the couple chose to share that really illustrated them living their best life. But there was also, I think, an undercurrent of revenge. That sounds terribly dramatic, but just the way Harry spoke about William, knowing that William can't possibly respond or answer back or
Yeah,
really share his side of the story at all,
yeah.
was quite bold. And I think we do have to remember that this is one side of the story.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's impossible to escape the conclusion that we're looking here at score settling, among many other things, on a massive scale. In your judgment, Victoria, the balance of opinion on this in America, as well as the level of interest. Has that been shifting in America?
It's interesting, John. I've lived here, it'll be 27 years in January. So I feel like I do have a pretty good handle on how things are perceived here. And for the most part, since Harry and Meghan did retreat back to the US in March 2020, the sympathy's largely been on their side, but I have noticed a shift. Harry and Meghan were mocked in the monologue for the opening of Saturday Night Live on Saturday. That probably wouldn't have happened before. Howard Stern, of course, he is a shock jock, but he came out and criticised them for whining. I'm not going to say the rest of the sentence, probably not for radio. There has been something of a pushback, even on the morning shows. Some of the anchors previously would have been very sympathetic, but they're saying, isn't it enough that they're still complaining. So whether that trickles down to the rest of the population, I'm not sure, but it's also quite difficult to get a solid gauge here simply because the country is so vast. So yes, as Nick said, there are a huge number of Sussex fans here, and I think they're going to continue to defend this couple to the hilt. They're deeply loyal to them. Equally, there's a huge number of royalists here that are very excited to follow all things the British monarchy do. And then there are a huge chunk of people that simply don't care. They're much more worried about domestic issues. So right. In terms of shifting the dial, I don't think really the monarchy has to worry.
Welcome to Meghan and Harry Tales, where we bring you the untold truths and unveil the layers of complexities surrounding Harry and Meghan's story. Today we explore the personal, emotional and sometimes shocking revelations that have left the world captivated. The latest revelations have taken a deeply personal turn. Unlike the initial broader accusations, these disclosures delve into family dynamics, highlighting intense moments between Harry and his brother William. Harry's accounts of emotional confrontations reveal a side of royal life that has long been hidden behind palace walls. However, some critics dismiss these exchanges as normal sibling disputes, attempting to downplay the weight of his revelations. What does this say about how people view vulnerability and trauma within the monarchy? Harry's heartbreak over Meghan's miscarriage and his accusations against the press have sparked emotional reactions worldwide. While Harry connects the tragic loss to the relentless intrusion of tabloids, his nuanced statements show a deeper struggle to hold institutions accountable. This raises the question, how much responsibility should the media bear for its impact on public figures? Meanwhile, the palace maintains its stance of silence, refusing to engage with the accusations. This decision, while strategic, has left the public divided. On one hand, some view the monarchy's silence as dignified restraint. On the other, critics argue it allows accusations of racism and institutional failures to linger unchecked. The divide in public opinion couldn't be starker. Across the Atlantic, the narrative takes on a unique twist. In the US, Harry and Meghan have garnered a loyal fan base, yet recent pushbacks from media personalities like Howard Stern and suggest a shift in sentiment. Are audiences growing weary of the couple's openness, or is this backlash indicative of a deeper cultural divide between British stoicism and American emotional expression? Ultimately, this isn't just a story about one couple versus the monarchy. It's a cultural moment that reflects larger issues of accountability, mental health, and the clash of traditions with modernity. Harry and Meghan's willingness to speak their truth challenges the status quo, forcing the world to confront uncomfortable truths about institutions that have long shaped society. Whether you stand with Harry and Meghan or question their motives, one thing is undeniable. Their story continues to redefine the narrative around royalty, media and identity. At Meghan and Harry Tales, we'll be here to keep uncovering the layers, one story at a time. Until next time, stay curious and stay tuned.